Hello, geeks and gamers. Matt Linke here with Through Gamer Goggles, gamer-goggles.com. And today we are going to continue our role-playing session on what it means to develop a character. When I initially started this, I thought it was only going to be for beginners. And in a way, today's session is really about beginners. But before we get involved in today's session of alignment, which I kind of think is probably going to be an intro, I'm hoping I can make it all-inclusive and generic enough that it applies to every game system and every alignment. But an important announcement: on March 1st, I am going to go ahead and start my Kickstarter for Season 4. So if you like this, please share, subscribe. This series is going to be a big part of not so much my Kickstarter, but what I want my Kickstarter to kind of shine upon. So please share this video or all of these videos if you like them. And please comment below and let me know if you'd like me to lump everything together as one show when it's all said and done, which at this point will be over an hour long, I think. And I think we'll have another hour for the rest of it. By the time I'm done talking about everything I feel we need to talk about for developing great characters. Now, a little bit of history about me and alignment and why my line of thinking is going to be the way it is. Man, it is cold down here. I keep playing with my heater because I am cold. I almost feel like I should have a jacket or something on, but I don't have anything down here. That's why I keep reaching off screen. But I started playing Dungeons and Dragons, which was my first experience to D&D. And if you look at... Do I have it here? No, I don't have Player's Handbook down here. If you look at the old chart for Player's Handbook, that was the best kind of guide you had for alignment, which at 8 years old didn't make a lot of sense. So, I am a lot older now, and I started playing in 3rd grade. And pretty much in my early years of D&D, maybe even all the way through high school, and I didn't play much D&D in college. So out of college into the point where I owned my game store in the early 2000s is when alignment started to mean something to me. Except, well, in Rifts. That's really where the journey began. But early on in D&D, alignment was really silly to me. I didn't understand it. I didn't know what it meant. And I ignored it. Unless I was playing a paladin. And then I was usually playing something that was so pure. Alignment didn't really matter because I was a paladin. I just did the right thing. And we weren't old enough or mature enough to present, the great moral questions in junior high and high school that we can now as adults to make it an even more interesting character. I look back at my first paladin and I call him the Chateau of the Bright Blades, and he'd probably be pretty boring to play right now, as in done. Anyway, I think there's two schools of thought when it comes to alignment. There's the school of thought that I was part of as a child, and that's that alignment is one of two things: worthless or a hindrance. And this is what I have to say to those lines of thinking. You don't understand role-playing, or you don't want to role-play the way it was intended to be done. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, because I think most people that are in that line of thinking are new role-players. And therefore, they just haven't learned what to do with it yet. And hopefully this will help you guys out. And if you're not a new player, maybe this will kind of make you think about it or look at it in a different way. And I'll even go as far as saying, if you don't like alignments, then you're probably not the type of person who should be role-playing. And hopefully we'll cover all that here in the next 10 minutes or so. So let's look at this. Many people who look at alignment don't want to be bothered by parameters of making a choice where it can have their character have some kind of moral obligation. Therefore, they probably won't play a character that uses any kind of code. They probably won't want to use any character that plays any type of a code, and if they do use any type of a code, they probably won't follow it, which could cause tension between the player and the GM. And then the other line of thinking that it's a hindrance is pretty much the same. It's, oh my gosh, it's such a burden that, my character can't kill this guy right now. And, being somebody who likes to play alignment, I've been there. I've done that. I've wished it. So I understand. But here's the fact of the matter. The fact of the matter is alignment isn't just a fantasy world thing. It's a reflection of the real world. Everybody has an alignment. And and when I say alignment, I'm not just talking lawful good or lawful evil or chaotic good or neutral or true neutral. I'm talking Rift's alignments. I'm talking any alignments from any other game or dispositions or whatever they're called. This is a generic video that should be able to lump it all together. Those are tools that are created to help you develop your character's personality, not hinder it. How? Let's see. Let's take a character. Nobody's really coming to my mind. But let's say you have a paladin. What good would the paladin be, or how less iconic would a paladin be if he could just go kill his enemy when he becomes unarmed? He wouldn't be as pure and as cool. It's up to you to use your alignment as a tool to reflect choices based upon the moral code, which basically is what an alignment is, that you have chosen for your character. And it's not always easy. It's a challenge. It's hard. And some of the most challenging ones are the ones that you wouldn't believe are challenging. Like neutral good, to me, is one of the hardest alignments to play. It just boggles my mind, the whole concept of neutrality and then being good with neutrality or being evil with neutrality. And then I think chaotic evil is actually harder to play than lawful evil in D&D. And then you get into rifts, and some of those alignments are just so close. It's hard to draw a line in between them. But the whole point is, again, it's like, well, okay, my character probably wouldn't torture somebody because of being, from this choice that he made or that I made for him. And that's exactly how you're supposed to use it. You're supposed to take what you know and understand to be true as a player and work it through into the mindset of this imaginary character that you've created, so that your imaginary character can then make real world choices that would reflect that belief. Now, what's really cool is that sometimes you have to make choices that reflect the belief within the game system, but sometimes that choice might be reshaped a little bit because of cultural beliefs. And that's why we're doing this series. You start with your stats, you move to your races, and then you move to your alignment. And you kind of work on blending all those things together. Most first level characters aren't good characters. You probably don't have good characters until 4th or 5th level when you've practiced playing them. And that's why alignment, again, I think alignment is so important in role-playing a character that you probably shouldn't play a game that doesn't offer some type of alignment system. Because it's a tool that helps you and guides you through decision-making for your character. And, that's what you're playing for, really. I mean, 20 years ago I wouldn't have said that. It wasn't until I started getting into GMing more. Well, I GM'd a lot of D&D, or dungeon mastered a lot of D&D in high school, but we were pretty much hack slash people. When I got to college, I had friends that were playing Rifts, and Rifts is a very different game. And I do mean very different. The skill system's different, character creation is different, the alignment system's different. To some degree, Rifts is a lot about what you have. It is kind of a very hack-slashy game. But the role-playing in it is probably what made me realize role-playing wasn't what I thought it was. Because if you play certain characters in rifts, and you get into combat, you're just gonna die. You are dead because of all the mega damage. You know, I mean, how would you like to build? That's irrelevant, the amount of damage it gets done. But I mean, they just die. So if you don't roleplay and use your head and get rewarded for being the character that you created by the GM, you're gonna suffer. Um, should other game systems be less forgiving? Maybe, but I think that is all within another situation or another discussion where you talk about role playing the party and with the GM and everything working together. There's a whole nother series involved in that. But what alignment does is gives you another layer before we get into the disposition or the true personality of the character. And what it does is it gives you a basis for your line of thinking when it comes to moral obligation and moral judgment. And that is a good thing because as I mentioned, everybody has an alignment. Now we're going to start talking about that a little bit. For the most part, my belief is that as a whole, the world is a good place. Otherwise, we would have a lot more darkness in the world. I think there is a lot of evil out there, but as a whole, people tend to do the right thing, and I have faith that more often than not, that has happened. And I'm not talking about, driving down the street and somebody needs a flat and you just keep going. I'm not saying that's a good judgment of your moral character, but I think, if you look at natural disasters, people come together and they outweigh the bad. So I'm thinking, that's a good reflection of who we are as a whole. And I think that is really what alignment is about. It's if you take this lump of people in this fantasy setting and you put them into this alignment, this overall is what they believe. So even within alignment, there is room and flexibility for you and your GM to create something very, very specific for your character. For example, in Eberron, and this goes to 3.5, the Arenali elves have a different view of death because, well, they're positive energy undead. They become the undying. And one of the things that we did in our game world, which is kind of like a pseudo Eberron alternate timeline that follows the timeline, but it's a little bit different. But it's all there because of the story. Arenali paladins and clerics can't loot the dead. That, if they make a fresh, if you get into combat with another fighter, they can't take from that fighter, and they can't, we created a rules system that says for X amount of time you can't take from the dead unless it was if you take from a battlefield that's been around for a while, that's a different story, but you can't go into tombs and take from the dead that way either. So that was just a little thing that we kind of worked into. That wasn't really our alignment, but that was our code. But that same type of thing can be applied to alignment. If you make a race that is so righteous, they might have a stricter view of lawful good than others. Therefore, a new code might need to be created for them. And I think that, again, alignment it's probably one of the best tools you can have. And to sum everything up, I think there's two thoughts of alignment. One is that you don't need it or it's a hindrance, and the other one is that it's a necessity. And I'm now, after about 30 years of role-playing, to the school of thought that it's a necessity. It truly helps you define your character, which in the end is what I believe role-playing is about. It's, mostly. It's about defining your character within a party of people that you want to have a community with and a social gathering within the story as you and the GM tell it, because it is a partnership, and there are certain things that will come into play later on in other discussions that we'll talk about with that partnership. But as a whole, alignment is a great tool for you to use. And now that we're here, we're right here, I guess. I'll put it over on this side. No, I'll put it on this side underneath the Pathfinder thing. This is my favorite tool for alignments in the Dungeons and Dragons game world. It is a great idea, and you can really apply it to any game system. And again, this is generic. And if you guys want, please go ahead and comment below. Let me know if you want me to go over the basic alignments and the Rifts alignments. In the comments below, I'm going to add a comment. One of my friends wrote a philosophical disposition of alignments, basically, on the blog a few years ago. It was one of the very first things that we had up, and it's really good. It's deep. It's probably better than anything I would put up in this time frame. In fact, I might just put my little blurb up on why alignment is important and post to it. But the other thing I want you to do, if you enjoy this and if you enjoy this series, I want you to let me know two things. My Kickstarter is going to start on March 1st, and this Matt Speaks RPG series is going to end hopefully before then. But I'm thinking about a totally different series, brand new Matt Speaks RPG type of thing. And if you like this, I want two things from you. One, share it as much as you can, because I'm going to use it in my Kickstarter, and I'm going to use it as a base of launching for the next RPG show I do. And on top of that, I want to know from you guys if you want me to take, at the end of the series, all of the sessions and combine them into one video, which I'll be able to do. I think right now it's over an hour long, but I don't know. I'm from the frame of mind that shorter is better, but there's so many parts to this and there's so much of it, it might be better as a 2-hour lecture. Thanks for watching. This is Matt Lemke with Matt Speaks RPG from Through Gamer Goggles, gamer-goggles.com. And please comment and share. I like hearing from those of you that have been talking with me. I can't wait to see what this conversation brings. And let me know, especially if you want more information on alignment, because I will go ahead and go through lawful, neutral, chaotic, and add the little subsections. I think I can do each of those in about 15 minutes. We're 17 minutes in. I think I rambled a little bit and repeated once or twice, and if I did, I'm sorry. But to get the point across I'm trying to get, I think that was the right way to approach it. Thanks for watching. Have a good day, and see you next week.